Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into the Form 40F annual report of Curaleaf Holdings. Let's just say that navigating the legal landscape of cannabis is like trying to herd cats, and this report gives us a glimpse into how they're managing it. Expect a mix of growth, regulatory hurdles, and financial juggling, all wrapped up in one interesting package. This Form 40F is their annual report, basically a yearly checkup required by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Instead of filing the usual 10K report like most US companies, foreign companies like Curaleaf can file a 40F. This report covers the fiscal year ended December 31, 2024. It's a comprehensive look at where they've been and where they're heading. So the year in review ends in December 2024. As of that date, they had over 656 million subordinate voting shares outstanding. These shares are basically the common stock that most people can buy, giving holders some say in how the company is run. Now, before we get too deep, let's talk about forward-looking statements. These are basically Curaleaf's guesses about the future, and they come with a big disclaimer: things could change. The actual results could be very different from their predictions. They're not crystal balls. Things like cannabis legality, financial access, and competition all have big effects. These factors include the legality of cannabis in the US. It's still illegal at the federal level, which creates a lot of complications. There are risks related to anti-money laundering laws, since handling cash from cannabis sales is a red flag for banks. They face challenges in getting traditional financing because many banks are hesitant to work with cannabis companies. Also, it mentions the risk of increased regulation by the Food and Drug Administration, which would affect everything from production to marketing. They are incorporating their annual information form by reference. This form contains even more details about the company, its operations, and its risks. It gives investors a more complete picture. The audited financial statements are also included. These statements have been reviewed by independent auditors, giving them more credibility. We will look at that in more detail shortly. Now let's look at their internal controls. They talk about disclosure controls and procedures, which are designed to ensure that the information they report is accurate and reliable. The CEO and CFO have to sign off on these, saying they believe the controls are effective. They hired an accounting firm to audit the effectiveness of their internal controls over financial reporting. These controls are in place to make sure that the financial data is properly recorded and reported. Let's talk about the fees they paid to their auditors. In 2024, audit fees were $2.72 million paid to PKF O'Connor Davies. There were no audit-related or tax fees, but there were all other fees of $65,000. All the work needs approval by the audit committee, which oversees the relationship with the auditors. Looking back to 2023, the audit fees were a bit higher at $2.85 million to PKF O'Connor Davies, plus some smaller audit fees to other firms. The reason why 2023's fees are higher might be more complexity in the audit, or perhaps it's just different rates. The company also has a code of ethics. This document outlines the standards of conduct expected of directors, officers, and employees. It covers things like conflicts of interest, confidentiality, and compliance with laws. Now for the juicy stuff, the financials. These statements give us a look into how Curaleaf is actually performing, not just what they say they're going to do. These audited financial statements are going to show us how they did in 2024 and 2023. They have the numbers reported in US dollars. I'm scrolling down to take a look at the income statement. In 2024, their total revenue was about $1.35 billion. That's a pretty big number. If you look at 2023's total revenue number, it's almost $1.34 billion. So total revenue is flat year over year. Now let's scroll down to net loss. The net loss in 2024 was $108 million. That's a loss, but let's compare it to last year. The net loss in 2023 was about $277 million. The company decreased its losses significantly year over year. Let's take a look at the balance sheet. They had $2.79 billion in assets and $1.59 billion in liabilities. That gives them a pretty solid equity position. The report is signed by Ed Kremer, the Chief Financial Officer. This signature is a big deal because it means he's vouching for the accuracy of the information in the report. Now, what do we make of all this? Curaleaf is playing a high-stakes game in a rapidly changing industry. Their revenue is holding steady, but the fact they're still operating at a loss is a red flag. That said, it's a lot better than last year. They're clearly focused on controlling costs and improving their bottom line, but if they can't start turning a profit, they might face some tough choices down the road. The big question mark is still federal legalization. If the US government changes its stance on cannabis, it could be a game changer for Curaleaf and the entire industry. But that's a bet on the future, not a guarantee. Curaleaf needs to carefully manage its risks, control its costs, and keep innovating to stay ahead of the competition. The cannabis industry is like the Wild West, but with a lot more regulations. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what company you want us to decode next.